The best new music. You heard this on Takeover first.
Hit it!
Do you think that the school can reach its GCSE exam results by the end of the year?
Yeah, we've just done our first data collection and we're on track to achieve our challenging targets that we've set ourselves for the year. Obviously, as well, we've been Ofsted this half term, so we've been set some very clear targets by Ofsted, and I'm very pleased with the progress that we're making so far towards achieving those targets.
As headmaster, how do you intend to help improve your results at the end of the year?
For me, the main thing is having the overview of everything that's going on in the academy. I obviously line manage all of the leadership team, and then the leadership team line manage all the heads of department individually. So they then report back to me centrally through their line management meetings, and then we discuss the whole academy when we get together as a group.
Emily, do you have any questions?
If you're trying to get these results, do you have like any after school clubs to like help them get to their GCSE results?
Yeah, I was really pleased that this was recognised actually by Ofsted. The fact that I think the figure that was quoted was 9 out of 10 students attend some form of extracurricular activity, and that's not just revision, that's the various clubs, sports activities, and that's something that we want to continue to grow. In terms of revision, one thing we've done with the year 11 is straight after half term, they're actually the whole of year 11 are going to stay behind for an extra hour after school on a Monday to do an additional maths lesson, because maths is one of our targets that Ofsted set us, and we think by having that extra time on a Monday after school for all of year 11 in maths, it will give them their best opportunity to achieve their target grades. And as a payback for that, we're going to let the year 11s go home early on a Friday afternoon, so they're quite pleased about that.
Good idea. I don't think any other schools are doing that, so would you push other schools to try that?
I mean, I wouldn't push it. I think it's something that certainly now we're in academy, we do have the flexibility to be different. We don't have to stick to the traditional school day, school hours. We can think outside of the box and do things differently like that, but obviously we don't want to increase the number of hours that students are spending in school unnecessarily. We're doing it for their benefit, for their futures.
Lewis, have you got any questions?
Yes, I have actually. I've got one about school council. How much of an impact does the school council have?
Well, I made it my business in the first half term to meet with every year council. So I've met with the year 7, 8, 9, all the way through to year 13 year councils individually to talk about their ideas for the school. And then I met with the school council as a group, which was 2 representatives from each year council to sit on the school council, and went through what I'm going to do as principal to address their needs really. One of the biggest ones for us as an academy is the dining. I recognised straight away when I came into the school that the queues are just ridiculous, so I have kicked up a bit of fuss about that. I got the head of catering from Notts County Council in, and we're doing something about that. We're employing more staff, we're expanding the dining facilities into the Princess Suite, so that's an additional space so that we can have a much bigger area with more staff serving, because that was something that really frustrated the students. And also the range of foods on offer. There's going to be a larger range of foods on offer, and we're also going to get in a hot drinks machine, which was requested by the students, so that they can get a tea or a coffee or a hot chocolate. I can see Ant in the background clenching his fist. Very pleased with that.
Okay, thanks for that, but we will have more questions for Mr. Croft later on, just in after the next few songs. But if you have a question you want to ask in, all you've got to do to get in touch with the show today is texting on 07537 199 112. Text costs no money, will stand in network rate. On Facebook, Takeover Radio 106.9. Twitter is at Takeover 106. Up next is Hey There Delilah playing White Food.
Don't. Ed Sheeran here on Takeover Radio 106.9 FM. You're on with me, Cam. You're also joined in the studio by Emily. Hello, Emily.
Hello. Yeah.
Joined by Lewis.
Hello.
And we're also joined by our special guest, Mr. Tim Croft, Headmaster at Sutton Community Academy.
Hello.
How are you doing today, Mr. Croft?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Good. So we were talking just in them few songs, so like some of the questions I thought were very very interesting because some of the answers that you gave. Like, how do you feel that the school can reach its targets?
Yeah, I mean, it was a really thought-provoking discussion that we just had there during the break. It's very noticeable to me, coming in from a different institution, an institution that was an outstanding school, to Sutton that is currently a requires improvement school. It's very easy for me to see the difference, and I think it's more difficult for the staff that currently work here to see that difference, because some of the staff here, in fact most of the staff here, will have never worked in an outstanding school, whereas I can come in and I can be very objective. I'm not yet, I'm obviously much closer to the school now after working here for 8 weeks, but certainly when I started 8 weeks ago, I had no bond with the school at that time because I'd only just started. I didn't know anybody. I don't have to feel protective about anything because I'm new and everything that was in place was nothing to do with me. So I'm able to come in and see the school as an outsider, and I could very clearly see the difference between what an outstanding school looked like and what a school that requires improvement looked like. And my job is now obviously to get this school to outstanding one day, but there are lots of stages that we have to go through to get there. The first stage is to get it to good. And now I have set targets for all areas of the school, for teachers, for students, across the school. I've set targets. We've got a very clear action plan that will get us to good. And my job over the next 8 months is to monitor progress towards those targets to get us to good. And those targets are much more challenging. So what's happened over this last half term is that much more challenging targets have been set for the whole school, but that needs to happen. That needs to happen first of all to get us to good, and then we've got to go one step beyond that and then go from good to outstanding, and that will mean those targets will need, the ante will need upping yet again.
Would you say it's the students that need a bit more pushing, or would you say the teachers need a bit more pushing?
It's both. It's both, because it has to feed down from the top. I mean, I've got very challenging targets. Most people will know that Sutton Community Academy is part of a trust run by the Academy Transformation Trust, ATT, and the trust have set me very challenging targets. Now, what I've done is then set those same challenging targets for the leadership team. The leadership team have then set those equally challenging targets for all the heads of department. The heads of department have then set those challenging targets for their teachers within their department, and then the teachers pass on those targets to the students in the classroom. So it feeds all the way through the system.
We've got some questions coming in from emails. From Jamie Brown at yahoo.co.uk. Good morning, my name is Jamie Brown from Sutton in Ashfield. I've got a question for Mr. Tim Croft. During your post at Sutton Community Academy, what's the biggest thing you will tackle within your job and why?
The biggest thing I will tackle?
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is the expectations, because as I've just said in my previous answer, many of the staff here have worked here for a long time and they're used to things operating in a certain way. Many of those staff will have never worked in an outstanding school. I have, and clearly we have to up the ante, and we've set more challenging targets, but it's providing the support for them to achieve those challenging targets. So yeah, that's the biggest thing, it's raising expectations.
Got another one coming from mike.funnytime@hotmail.co.uk. Would you say changing the names for the teachers from the first names to Sir and Miss would benefit the school?
Personally, yes, I think so. When I first got the job, and I said to people, I'm applying for the job, people said to me, oh, that's the school that don't have a uniform and that call teachers by the first names. And I quickly pointed out that now the school does have a uniform, but that it does still call students by, it still calls teachers by the first names. Now, that is a view that the wider community has of this school that sometimes I think does not reflect well on the school, because it is unique in that position, and perhaps once upon a time it did work for the school. But education's changed, expectations have changed, expectations from Ofsted have changed, and although he didn't mention it in our recent report, he did comment on it and say it's very odd and it's something he's not seen before. At the moment, I'm not too concerned about it. It's not a priority. Obviously, I've made my expectations clear in terms of I'm Mr. Croft, and the students all refer to me as Mr. Croft, as the principal. I'm happy with it at the moment, but it is in the action plan for this year to consider whether it does have that wider effect on, because one thing I have to work on is we've got low numbers coming into the academy at the moment. We can officially have 900 students on roll, and currently we only have 660, so we're 240 students short of where we could be. Now, is that because some parents don't like the fact that their sons and daughters could call teachers by their first names, and therefore they send them to another school instead? And the fact that the historical, maybe lower expectations that may have existed. But that's all changing, and it is all on my radar.
I'll say I think it's say I've been going to Sutton Community Academy for 4 years now. I think it shows a bit of a bond between the teachers. It's just like it gives them a bit more relatable to them, that you can be so close to the teacher without actually knowing anything about them.
But what, and again going back to something I said earlier, what you don't see, Cam, is what I see coming from an outstanding school. You're currently being educated at a school that requires improvement, and you call a teacher by their first names. Is there a link there? My job as a new principal is to establish, because you know, I've come from an outstanding school. If I believe that we can get to outstanding and you can continue calling teachers by your first names, I will keep it. If I have the evidence to prove that calling teachers by the first names is a barrier to this school getting to outstanding, I will change it. At the moment, I have no plans to change it, but it is something that I'm considering on an ongoing basis.
Lewis, what do you think about calling the teachers by the first name, as you are new to the school, newish to the school, started in September? Would you say it's a positive to the school, or is it a negative?
Yeah, because it's like strange coming from a primary school. You call your teachers by the second name, and I think it is better calling teachers by the first name, because I'm not sure really, but it just sounds a bit better than just saying like Mr. something, whatever.
Would you mind if I asked a quick question, Cam?
That's fine.
I want to just ask Emily what her perspective is on this, because obviously Emily goes to Ashfield School. And what's the view, do you think, of other students from Ashfield and students that don't come to Sutton? Be honest.
I think it's better that we don't call teachers by the first name, because the teachers are there to teach us. They're not there to like get a personal bond. Maybe tutors are there to get a personal bond, but not teachers that you teach. I think that you should call them by a second name.
And do you think it does affect some students and the fact that they might not choose to come here?
Yeah.
And that's my point, Cam, you see. Yes, I know that students that come here, those 660 students that do come here, choose this school, and their parents choose this school, maybe because they came here and they liked it. But the fact remains that this is a requires improvement school, and it calls students, and we're 240 students below where we should be, in terms of we should have 900 students here, and we don't.
So we'll have more from Mr. Croft in a few minutes' time, but up next is Aqua by Barbie Girl. Let's get ready to rumble. PJ and Duncan here on Takeover Radio 106.9 FM. Joined by me, Cam. Also in the studio I've got Emily and Lewis, and our special guest, Mr. Tim Croft, the headmaster at Sutton Community Academy. Emily, have you got a question for Mr. Croft today?
This is going back to Lewis and his bullying topic. We see a lot of cyberbullying nowadays. Do you think 13 is the right age to have Facebook?
I don't think there's any right age to have Facebook, if I'm honest. I got off it as quickly as I got on it, because it just causes so many problems. So in answer to your question, no, it's not the right age. It would be much easier for schools if it was banned until at least 16, because it just causes so many issues in schools. It's the main reason why we don't allow phones here at all. So if we see a student with a phone, we take it off them immediately, because certainly from my past experience of where students have been allowed phones, there are lots of e-safety issues, and we don't have as many e-safety issues at Sutton Community Academy actually. But certainly it does happen outside of school, and then that does often spill into school. But I am very pleased that the school is a Stonewall champion. I'm pleased that of all the work that the school's doing in terms of e-safety, because incidents of it are quite low here compared to other schools.
You said that phones are took off yet. Do you think that if you needed to get in contact with your mum or something, you would be there to contact them so that they didn't have to...
Yeah, there's phones in all areas of the school, and those phones, whether it's the English office, whether it's the main school office, reception, have all got outside lines, so there's always an opportunity for students to get in contact with home if required. But what we've got to remember is, when I went to school, mobile phones didn't exist, so what did we do then? So it's not as if we can't survive without mobiles, it's just because we've got them, we now rely upon them a little bit too much. And sometimes, you know, going back to your question, parents do come in and complain when we take the phone off the students, because they might say, oh, there's, you know, the dad's in hospital and I told them to keep the phone on them in case I needed to get hold of them. But that's what reception's for.
Yeah.
And we do pass messages on, and that's not really an excuse.
I'm not going to complain or anything, but at my school, teachers do allow us to use our phones as calculators in maths classes or in science classes. Do you think that they should be using their budget to get calculators for the children, because they have, I'm not going to say which school this is, but they have 3 televisions in 8 where we eat that are not being used. Do you think that they could have used it for more responsible things than the TVs?
Yeah, and is that something that you've raised through the school council?
Not yet.
Yeah, well, that would certainly be worth doing that, because, you know, schools generally do listen to what the students say, because in a very crude sense, you're the customers, aren't you? That's the way I see it. You know, Camp here and Lewis, that's it. I thought I was about to say Liam. Cam and Lewis are my customers, and I want those to have the best experience at the school, and therefore I'm very keen to listen to what they have to say about the school. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit blurred when you allow teachers the freedom, for example, letting students use the cameras in art and media lessons.
Yeah.
Because how can you be sure that those students aren't on Facebook or texting a mate? Does that happen?
Yes, that does happen a lot.
So that's the issue, and that's something that you have to consider when making separate rules like that.
But surely they should be able to buy the equipment.
So I completely agree. Yeah, which would mean that you wouldn't have to use the mobiles, and then those lines don't get blurred. If
you did have a massive amount of money, what do you think would be the most important subject to spend it on?
No one subject. I'd want it spread across the different subjects, because I think it's vitally important that students...
If you love music, you'll love Takeover.